Good morning. I am calling to order our regularly scheduled meeting of the Committee of the Whole. My name is Elizabeth Glidden. I'm the chair of this committee. I am joined today by council members Gordon, Andrew Johnson, Yang, Quincy, Goodman, Fry, and Palmisano. We are a quorum of the committee. We have a short meeting with official business of the committee today. We have 4 items, all of which are essentially consent items. I will read through those items and ask if anybody would like to take anything off. The first item is referring to staff an ordinance amending Title II of the Minneapolis Code of Ordinances relating to administration. This would be adding a new chapter regarding a target market program. Item number 2 is setting a public hearing for April 13th, 2016 in this committee to consider an ordinance amending Title II, Chapter 24 of the Minneapolis Code of Ordinances relating to administration, public works, and this would be amending Article 4 entitled Contracts by adding prevailing wage requirements for certain city contracts for public improvements. Items 3 and 4 are anticipated reports, which are both being postponed until our next cycle. Item number 3 is a planned report from both our staff at the City of Minneapolis and from Minneapolis Park Board Superintendent Jane Miller regarding the Park and Recreation Board's proposed resolution requesting a special levy referendum. And we will be postponing this presentation and discussion until our next Committee of the Whole meeting, March 16th. And item number 4 is regarding our anticipated Workplace Regulations Partnership Group report. We have received a letter from the partnership group, and I believe it is attached to the agenda, officially requesting a 1-cycle extension so the group can fully complete their work, and they will present a report to the council on March 16th, 2016. Again, that's our next meeting. So I will move all 4 of those items and ask if anyone has any discussion on any of those questions. I'm not seeing any. All in approval, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, and those items are approved. Next, we have the reports of committees, and the first is Community Development and Regulatory Services with Councilmember Goodman.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. We'll have 11 items for approval on Friday. Items 1 and 2 are land sales, as is item 3. Item 4 is the land sale at 800 Washington Avenue to Mortensen. This is in anticipation of the hotel, retail, American Academy of Neurology project going on that site. Item number 5 is a fairly major item. It's eliminating the Housing Board of Appeals and moving it to an administrative process with city staff, followed by an administrative review through an administrative law judge if required. Item number 6 are the regular gambling, business, and liquor licenses. Item 7 is a license settlement conference. Item 8 is approving the submission of the larger federal tech hire partnership grant. Item 9 is the restructure loan at Plaza Verde. You might have seen the story about that in the paper this morning. Item number 10 is a fairly large item. It's the land sales, multiple land sales for projects for Green Homes North Round 5. And item number 11 is a loan for Jack Links through the Minnesota Investment Fund. We need to approve loans for projects in the city. So those are the 11 items that are coming forward on the agenda on Friday, Madam Chair. And if there are after questions, I just wanted to make one other note about something involving CD if possible.
Okay, any questions? And I'll just note I'm not on speaker management. So. That's Cindy. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Probably members of the committee remember about maybe 3 or 4 cycles ago, the Community Development Committee did a land sale to a gentleman named Wilson Molina, who came forward. He was here in committee, and we sold about 7 or 8 houses to him that he was working on renovating. And one of those houses was profiled on Friday in an open house on the south, I believe it was on the north side, as well as a number of houses on the south side. The reason I bring this up is because it's heartbreaking to hear that after the open house on Friday, someone pulled up to the house with a U-Haul and stole all the stage furniture, the television, all of the appliances and basically damaged that house, as well as 2 of the houses on the south side that he had been working on. So here we were, working with this member of the community to try to believe in him, which we did, and he was moving forward and doing such a great job. And then immediately after an open house, to show off the work that he had done with minority contractors, someone obviously noted that and turned around and destroyed his house and stole everything in it. And I tell you this because it's just heartbreaking, because the committee spent a lot of time thinking about whether or not we should sell these lots to this gentleman, and we really believed in him, and it was such a big deal that the city sponsored an open house there on Friday, and it seems like, unfortunately, that open house created some attention in North Minneapolis that ended up with a loss to the property owner. I bring this up because I want to reiterate that things are hard for people on the north side. And even when we take a step forward, often we're taking 2 steps back. And while there's nothing that the city or the police could have done, I think we have to be really conscious of all of these problems that we don't individually see happening on the north side. And every time something good happens, we run the risk that also we have something moving backward. And so I don't say it to be disrespectful of the north side, but to help you understand how people have to deal with this kind of thing on a daily basis, and how hard it is for them to see a success and then immediately a failure, and how frustrating that has to be for people that live on the north side. And I'm kind of glad Barb's not here, because I feel like she might have told the story herself. I did talk to Roxanne Kimball about it. She was just heartbroken, and I just think we need to keep in mind that sometimes very difficult things happen. And so I appreciate, Madam Chair, you letting me share that story.
Thank you, Councilmember Goodman. Councilmember Yang is requesting the floor.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. And I wanted to echo what Councilmember Goodman has to say, especially about what happens on the north side. But I do want to clarify that this open house actually was on the south side, and I was actually there for the open house for a little bit at the beginning. But my goodness, just to hear that happened to his homes, one on the south side and one on the many on the. Golly, that's terrible.
I'm sorry. The house where the stuff was stolen might have been on the south side, but 3 of his properties were damaged, including the ones on the north side. Yeah, and the police are looking at it.
Good. Hopefully somebody gets caught.
Thank you very much. And that is a terribly distressing story. All right, I'm going to ask for the Health, Environment, and Community Engagement Report with Council Member Gordon.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. I'm happy to give that report. The Health, Environment, and Community Engagement Committee is going to be bringing forward 10 items for approval on Friday. The first one is a passage of an ordinance amending Title 11 that would remove marijuana from the list of prohibited drugs. The second item is confirming an appointment to the Minneapolis Advisory Committee on People with Disabilities. This is a mayoral appointment, Harvey Hoffman. The third item is approving a modification to the East Harriet Farmstead Neighborhood Revitalization Program. The fourth item is approving a Hawthorne Neighborhood Council priority plan for community health dialogues. The remaining items were also referred to the Ways and Means Committee. One had to do with data use agreement with the Minnesota Hospital Association. Sixth item is a contract amendment with Next Gen Healthcare for school-based clinics. Seventh is another contract amendment with Stair Step Foundation for national diabetes prevention classes. Eighth item is a contract with Wetland Habitat Restorations for community engagement and demonstration pilot of the North Side Greenway. The ninth item is authorizing agreements with Tree Trust and Wetland Habitat Restoration to provide tree planting and community outreach for the urban forestry program. And the last item, which is probably our most interesting item and we had the most discussion about, is our community solar garden subscription agreements. As people may recall, we entered into an RFP with the Met Council. We were lucky enough to be picked in the lottery of those organizations that entered into it to be able to subscribe to some solar gardens. And so there's actually 4 different suppliers, and we're going to be participating in 23 different community solar garden subscriptions if we, as we approve this, and go forward authorizing the execution of these agreements. I'm happy to stand for any questions.
Questions for Councilmember Gordon? I I'm not seeing any. So next we have Public Safety, Civil Rights, and Emergency Management with Councilmember Yang.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. On Friday, we will have 3 items for approval. The first 2 items are contracts with the U of M. One is for bomb detection services at TCF Stadium, and the second is for security and tactical response at TCF Stadium. And the third item, or the big ticket item for us, is the contract with Taser International for the purchase of body-worn cameras, and this is a contract that could be worth up to $4 million. And lastly, I wanted to mention that on Friday, I will be bringing forward a motion to consolidate staff directions from Council members Palmisano and Gordon with regards to this body cam policy, and this is much more for purposes of clarity than anything.
All right, thank you. I'm not seeing any questions on that. Transportation and Public Works with Councilmember Reich.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. The committee will be forwarding 6 items for full council consideration. Item 1 is regards a legal settlement between Burlington Northern and Santa Fe regarding a track expansion in northeast Minneapolis. Item 2 is request for proposal for graffiti abatement services, those services that go above and beyond what our department does. Item 3 is a municipal open street 2016 approving routes and management service agreement. So a lot of activity anticipated for this year. Item 4 is the Southwest LRT station names. We made a statement about our official position around the naming of those stations. The following items refer to the Ways and Means Committee. Item 5 is the 9th Street and Kenny Area Residential Street Resurfacing Project. And item 6 is the bid for large diameter sanitary sewer cleaning, and that will be an acceptance of a low bid. I'll stand for questions.
All right. Questions for Councilmember Reich? I'm not seeing any. Next, we have the Ways and Means report with Councilmember Quincy.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. We have 16 items on the agenda for consideration on Friday. First item is a land sale. Second item is a settlement of a workers' comp claim. We have a Downtown Improvement District grant and amended agreement. This is for the Downtown Improvement District's contract for continuing the work with the Chronic Offender Prosecution Program. Also a legal services agreement with Rice, Michaels, and Walther, LLP. A contract amendment with the Restorative Justice Community Action for restorative justice services. We have a contract closeout at the Convention Center with Premier Electric Corporation for RGB LED lighting in the exhibit halls. Number 7 is our agreement extension between Hennepin County and the City of Minneapolis regarding the Office to End Homelessness. Item number 8 is the acquisition and redevelopment of the Roof Depot properties for municipal operation purposes. Item number 9 is the bond issuance for Target Center renovation project. Item number 10 is the contract amendments with DRI Consulting for management assessment services. Item 11 is the IT gift acceptance for March 2016 SharePoint Fest Technology Conference expenses. Item number 12 is a contract with Aramosa for Public Works Laboratory and Operations Data System Software. We have an issuance of a request for proposal for a citation issuance and management system. Contract amendment with EMA for the Maximo Asset Management Software implementation. And IT contracts with Arete, Cloud Sherpas, and Integra Rhythm for ServiceNow application expansion. And the final item is a contract extension for the Mayor's Office Interim Communications Director. I also wanted to note that we had a presentation in the Ways and Means Committee about the beginning of our pay card program, where we're having a payroll card that's devoted to employees of the city using a debit card system instead of issuing checks. So it should add great security to our people who do not have choose to put it directly into a bank account or issue paychecks. Will be able to do it on a pay card in a much safer, more efficient system. So happy to stand for questions on the 16 items.
All right, questions for Councilmember Quincy? Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This isn't a question for Councilmember Quincy, but I do want to just say 2 quick things. First is about that pay card program. I don't know that it really got aired out enough at Ways and Means Committee about what a good move this is on behalf of the city. And thank you, Mr. Quincy, for your hard work on doing this kind of a program. It really helps to, one of the big benefits of a program like that is it helps people who perhaps are unbanked or who choose not to put their paycheck into a bank account to really gain what is likely to be a more favorable credit history. And that allows them to do everything from enter into apartment leases to qualify for other kinds of loans, perhaps home loans. And it really is pretty remarkable. So thank you for your work on that. I know it wasn't just a little bit amount of work.
Okay.
The second piece that I wanted to comment on is item number 28, and that was about the $4 million for the body camera program. You know, this has been a long time in coming, and I know that our mayor and city council has been working on it for quite a few years, and we've been putting money aside to work on it for years. I think that when we added some motions that really helps to try and make a public face of this project, but I just want to be clear that at this point in time, we are ready to allocate $4 million for a body camera program without any kind of public-facing service on it. There isn't money in these $4 million for anything that serves the public in their requests. It does serve our internal police department. It does help police to be able to perhaps defend themselves with body camera footage. The 2 video analysts that we set aside in last year's budget are, I believe, in internal affairs. But from the aspect that we have done an audit, and we had a great audit consult. We were asked by the police department to come in and do a consultation audit so that we could all walk into a body camera program with eyes wide open. And at this point in time, the resources are not there for them. So I do take the comments from my colleagues quite seriously about not wanting to allocate any sort of FTEs outside a budget cycle. These were not FTEs that the police department asked for. These were FTEs that I felt that we should be giving to the records information unit in the police department. The police do operate a little bit differently on a staffing curve. We are not able to go out and hire extra resources for this if they are not directly allocated. So I do plan to bring some kind of additional amendment forward on Friday that helps to begin looking seriously at what it takes to add that public interface. I don't know what it is yet, but I did just want to not surprise you all on Friday with it, because I think we can, I think we all have made promises that the body camera program is part of police reform. I think we have made public promises that this is about transparency and accountability, and I don't know how we can save so many terabytes of information up in some cloud, and it is worthless to the public if they cannot access it. So I do feel strongly about this. I've been working on this since last year, and I do plan to bring something forward to help us start to make movements toward some kind of ability for the public to access this data. Thank you.
All right. Any other comments, questions?
Jim.
Was there one? Councilmember Frey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And while I'm just starting to dig in on the topic, I do share Councilmember Palmisano's concerns. I think all of us up here are 150% for the body camera initiative, but it's not an initiative that we want to get half pregnant on. We want to do it right the first time, and we want the rollout to be as flawless as possible. And based on some of the statistics that I've seen thus far, we're falling behind with some of these data practices requests at an alarming rate. And it sounds like quick change and alteration needs to occur. So how the procedure is rolled out is certainly a question for debate, but whether action is needed based on the statistics I've seen is not.
All right, we've got a couple others in queue. Councilmember Bender.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We had a pretty significant discussion about this at Ways and Means, so I think it's worth mentioning here since we're discussing it again, that we seem to have 2 issues. One is a citywide, enterprise-wide need to look at our staffing resources around data practices requests, which are increasing. But of course, as we discussed at Ways and Means, we had significantly more requests for additional staff time and resources in departments than we have funding available. And so unless we're willing to raise property taxes significantly or cut other services and staffing, we have to make decisions about what to prioritize, and that's what we do when we adopt our budget, which we just did 2 months ago. So it seems like there is need and ongoing interest in looking at data practices requests, and again, in a citywide enterprise way, that's something that we need to solve over time. But the body camera issue seems to be a separate one, and I guess I'm confused about why the policy recommendations around the body camera program wouldn't come through the Public Safety Committee. Because it seems like what we really need to do, rather than talk about how many staff are needed now or in the future, is to set some policy parameters around what we expect from a body camera program. And that seems like an important discussion. I'm not on that committee. Perhaps that discussion has occurred there, or maybe that's the correct place, rather than kind of bringing something just in the next couple of days through council to say, we expect whatever standards to be met. I would defer to the chair and the other members of that committee on those specifics. But just an observation that I think we're talking about two different things. One is an enterprise-wide need to understand how we respond to data requests, and the second is any kind of policies that we would put in place around our new body camera program.
Councilmember Gordon?
Thank you. Well, I do serve on the Public Safety Committee, and so does Councilmember Palmisano, so we did have a discussion there about this. And one of the things that the staff direction that hopefully will pass tomorrow stipulates is that the policy will come back on April 6th from the department, and then we'll get to review it, and we'll know more specifics then exactly about what the policy states, which could help inform then what other staff we might need. I've certainly thought about this and had some discussions about it. One of my inclinations would be to say this is something we could put through the budget process, and we could do it in a more thoughtful and deliberative way. One of the reasons why I think that's more possible is because we're actually going to unroll the body cameras over time, so that we're not even going to have they're not going to be distributed to every precinct until near the end of the year. So we'll have a better understanding what's going on then. Also, we've heard back from the department and at the report that they felt that the staffing was adequate at this point. And I'm not sure if they'll be right or not, but both of those things make me think this is something we could at least wait until the 6th to think about more deeply and have some more conversations, and potentially put it through the budget cycle, because we may need to have a much bigger discussion about how we respond to requests for information, how we deal with that, our records department, the clerk's office, their role, and what each department might need to respond to those requests. So it might even be something bigger than just adding 2 for one need now, and then maybe a couple more we'll decide on later. And it just seems like it would be better government to bring it together and have a more thoughtful, deliberative discussion about it. So that's why I have some concerns at this point.
Councilmember Palmisano?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you. I do appreciate everything that Councilmember Gordon mentions. I do want to point out to my colleagues that don't sit on these committees that we did have the audit consult come and present at Public Safety Committee. And then we did have a pretty robust conversation about this at Public Safety, again, with no end result of what exactly is the right fix that we should do now. I do appreciate that this is going to take some more discussion. I've been looking at how we do that, but I sure hope that all of my colleagues here respect that one of the values of us having now a pretty great internal audit department is that would be a reason to change course from having to wait for a full annual budget cycle to take effect. When we have internal audit invited in to a department, and they come back with a thorough analysis, and they come back with suggestions of changes that we could make to make our city operate better and more efficiently right away, I hope we act on those changes. I think that is the value of having an internal audit department. I think they've been doing excellent work, and they've been getting some good results. So I hope that I certainly respect the budget process. I find public safety of paramount importance as to the things that we do around here. So in terms of things like raising property taxes, public safety is most definitely one of those reasons every day. And I do hope that we see when those internal audit reports come in, that is an opportunity to make corrections and change mid-course. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Gordon?
So I think if it looked like what we were doing was saying, police department, take some money that you already have that you're not spending on anything else and use it for a one time to do this enhancement or embellishment or study or focus on something to solve the problem. To me, that would be very different than if it looked like we were saying, police department, we're going to take money from somewhere else and increase your budget so you can do something new. And also if it looked like we were adding an ongoing expense that we thought would then be part of their ongoing budget in the following years, that would be more complicated. So just to give kind of a fine point on the kind of messing around with the budget that I might be more comfortable with than not. That makes sense. So I'll try to be quiet.
Okay, well, there's another comment. I just will say, and I probably should have anticipated, so my fault, that I wish I would have invited some of our staff to be here to kind of be interactive in the conversation. So my fault. We did have a good conversation about this at Ways and Means, although the one staff person who maybe could have been added was Mr. Tetzel from the audit department. Councilmember Bender.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To Councilmember Gordon's points, we did have a discussion at Ways and Means about adding 2 staff in the police department, and that was not supported by the committee. The committee supported an alternative resolution that was offered by Council Vice President. So I just want to be clear, we discussed the idea of giving a staff direction that directed the police department to hire 2 staff ongoing, and that was not supported by the Ways and Means Committee after significant discussion because of the long-term budget ramifications of adding 2 ongoing FTE with no identified funding source.
All right. And then I will just add one additional point that hasn't yet been brought up in our discussion here. So it was discussed at Ways and Means, but I don't know how clearly others are following this, is that a reminder that in last year's budget process, the police department was authorized to hire 2 new positions that will be specific to doing data practices work on body cameras. And we asked them about the status of those positions, and they have not yet been hired. There is, I think, a position description that is out right now on the street. So they're in the process of filling those positions. So we have 2 positions that will be dedicated to this work that are not yet online. But clearly there's a lot of interest, and this is going to be an issue, I think, where the council will want to have how can I put this, a good reporting mechanism back to council committees to ensure that we are fully aware of how implementation is running and how the police department is able to handle all the issues around implementation. So with that, we have one more committee report, and that is zoning and planning with Councilmember Bender.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have 2 items from zoning and planning. Item number 1 is an interim use permit for a principal parking facility at 718 West Broadway. The committee recommended forwarding this without recommendation to give Councilmember Yang's office more time to work with the property owner there on both short and long-term plans for that site. Item number 2 is appointments to our Minneapolis Arts Commission. We're very thankful for the 8 individuals that have volunteered their time to serve on this commission. Answer any questions.
Questions? All right, I'm not seeing any. I just have one announcement and reminder to council members that we will likely have a longer than normal meeting on March 16th because we have 2 time-sensitive items that are major discussion items we anticipate that need to come to committee on March 16th. And again, those are engaging with the Minneapolis Park Board and our staff around their request relating to a referendum. And the second item is the presentation from the Workplace Partnership Group, and then any conversation that council would want to have around that. So with that, I believe those are all the announcements, and we are adjourned. Thank you.